They just moved.
Okay.
We're just over here.
Excellent. We didn't lose anybody. Okay, I am Dan Langendorf. I teach over at UTD in an arts and technology program. For those of you who have not attended, this is the late night Artbytes series, hence the BYTES, because we're mixing the art and the technology. This is, I think, our 6th one now. We have brought a lot of local artists together. This is all sort of experimental. We haven't really gotten it. We're going to get them to publicize it more, but we're getting a lot of young artists who have interesting projects. So like last month we did comic book artists and comic book writers. We've had musicians come in and they're using digital tools to create their art. We haven't delved too much yet into photography or sound design. So tonight we have Caroline. She is a video artist, or I should say, not video artist, it's a digital artist, okay? She's going to show how she's using her work and creating wallpapers and screensavers as a form of therapy, okay? And for her she's attempting to set up commerce, to begin selling some of her artwork. Jillian is going to start off tonight. Jillian is a PhD candidate, is that correct?
Not quite yet.
Or an MFA?
No, I'm working on my PhD, but I'm
anyway,
not a
she's
candidate
still in school. She's still in school, and she works in sound. So what she's going to show tonight is the Seashell and the Clergyman, which was a silent film that they had to score themselves. And so she'll talk a little bit about how she and the group was able to put together the soundscape for this. I'll return to that in just a second. And then we have Shelby, who is sitting back in the back. Shelby can go like this. And Shelby is a photographer who is using multiple mediums, I guess. So it's not just the photography that she's doing. She's using a Game Boy device to capture some sketches. She's translating that to the computer, then she's using the computer and is also bringing in traditional painting with her photography, and she'll show some of her work. We don't really have a theme tonight. We've had themes in the past. We wanted to leave this sort of open. The concept is more of an open mic, so people are bringing projects that are still in the works, some things that they just want to elicit comments and get some opinions from people on, especially musicians who are playing some stuff and creating music. They kind of like to hear what other people like. In the future, I think next month, we're actually getting into some of the high school students and how they're using digital tools, which I would imagine there's some pretty interesting things out there that they're doing. And then another show, I think in June, is going to be, kind of like a cage match. We're going to take new media artists and traditional media artists and kind of let them duke it out, okay? The new media is having a major impact on traditional media, newspapers, television, movies, etc., audio. And so there's a really interesting thing going on right now between the two. One's kind of ousting the other, but there's still value in the traditional side. So how do we blend these two worlds? So without further ado, Jill, I'll let you take the floor and show everybody your work.
Okay. I don't think I really need this mic, do I?
No, you're good.
Okay. My name's Jillian Round. Very bizarre name, I know. It's British, and I can blame my parents for that one. But I am currently, yes, working on my PhD, and my area is, and I figured it out magically about 1.5 years ago, that I really like sound because it makes noise. But also, it's fun. It's fun to manipulate sounds. And my area is providing, or actually designing sound for paintings, for movies, and pretty much anything. I also collect sound waves and Foley art, and I'm also working on acoustics as well, and the science of acoustics, and earthquakes and how sound waves affect buildings.
Can I add one thing to what you're saying? Because you may forget it. The professor that she works with, and people oftentimes forget that sound is an integral part of our experience. So when we're watching movies, you can hear the 5.1 or the 7.1 sound, the home theater sound. But what she's getting down to is that you might hear a bell in the corner or a bicycle chain going. It's the science of sound. So almost all the sounds that are in movies and on television are created. There's a lot of importance to what they're doing. Sound is one of those ones that sits in the center of all of our digital media. And so we have a lot of video people that get started on stuff, they forget the sound. We have, there's things like radio people and podcasting and that kind of stuff which uses sound, but even to the point of like the old days when we were using like the mystery theaters in the 1920s and the 1930s where they had to actually do things in studio to create the sounds. So what we're trying to do in showing Jillian's work is that sound is an integral part of the entertainment experience, often forgotten but much appreciated.
Well, and going into that, and going further, what our class did, and as he's talking about sound in the medium of sound, way back in the day, what you would have is you would have musicians playing in front of the movie. You didn't actually have dialogue because they didn't have the technology back then. So, unfortunately, I'm going to show you an example of kind of the music that they had. It set kind of a mood. Well, what we decided to do is we decided to take that away and create our own soundtrack for this. And it sounds a little bit different because we decided to add techno music. We decided to add our own private interpretation. There's also a great example that I'll show you guys later, possibly if I have time. But I'm going to get straight to the point on this and show you and let it do its own thing. By the way, it was from 1927, and I'm not going to do his name justice. Germain Dulac, after a surrealist, and it's actually based off of surrealist art. This was the first surrealist movies that existed. And this quote-unquote is argued to be the first surrealist movie to ever exist. But a lot of people will beg to differ back then too.
Is that why you chose this film in particular?
I didn't choose it. Actually, our professor, Professor Frank Dufour, who is from France, probably did choose it for that reason. Because it is very popular in France, but for some reason in the United States, this one film, it brought up a lot of controversy. I don't know why, but I think a couple of people argued that because it's not pro-clergy, pro-priest, and the subject matter based off of it is cover your kids' ears, lust for a woman. And a general, and you're going to see him in this movie, the priest has an infatuation with the woman, his wife. And it kind of leads into that. But our own interpretation kind of got a little darker, so this is what's kind of cool. But this is the original. It's very dry, very boring. We're going to get to the fun stuff, guys.
But you said that musicians are actually standing in, when this was recorded.
Back in the day, what you would have is an organ, but they were actually played with organs. This was usually shown at trade shows, fairs. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Bram Stoker's Dracula, the one with Winona Ryder, where she's walking through with the man himself, and they're watching those little horses and the first movie shows that ever existed. Same format, same thing. You would go to these fairs and they would literally play the organs right there in front of it. You would have the band, and then they would have the Foley artist playing, making whistles of, glass breaking or whatever, literally in front of you performing it, because the technology didn't exist except for this. But, look at us today. We're surround sound and you name it. So we're going to get away from this and show you the cool one, for lack of a better word.